Gladwin City Light Show. Could you talk about your concerns here tonight, what you hope to learn here tonight?
Well, I really just want to get the basics of how dangerous the situation is. It's not clear from what I've seen whether there's immediate danger, accumulated health risk over time, or should we all be moving out of this area now, or are we fine for the next 25 years? So that's what I'm hoping to find.
Tonight is our listening session. Tonight is our chance to ask questions and get answers from the leaders and decision makers who have control over all this.
You don't live actually in Southeast, but you have dealt with air quality issues for a long time. Could you talk about that?
Yes, I'm here. Neighbors for Clean Air, was born out of a very similar situation in Northwest Portland about 5 or 6 years ago with Esco Steel, and that was when we really realized there are literally, all across the city, toxic hotspots of industrial air pollution that aren't being dealt with effectively by the regulators. And we had actually already been working with Southeast Portland, Abernathy parent groups for a long time because their school ranked as poorly as our school did. And it's been, just slogging through trying to get leaders to act on this. So I hope that we help this community get off the ground running to really address their problems effectively.
And your group, again, is for folks that want to get involved.
Neighbors for Clean Air, and we're at whatsinourair.org. I think we've been getting a lot of people. I think that we're good. And then they kind of did almost the Iowa caucus of voting with your feet of what are your ministries? So it was a really thoughtful effort by the community to kind of come up with this consolidated tonight.
Oh, yeah. I feel first kind of a sense of the devastation. I have 2 little ones at home. And I just want to learn right now what the remedy is going to be and the course of action. I want to know bullet points, step by steps, how it's going to happen. And I'm hoping that the silver lining in all of this might be the foundation, the building steps to just better air quality all across Portland. So fingers crossed, hopefully.
Well, I'm here because I want to find out some more facts about what's going on. I only know what's been reported in the media, and through that I have a very deep concern that the DEQ hasn't been protecting the environmental health of our community, and that disappoints me greatly if it's true that they've known about this for years and it's just come to light now. So I'm looking for some transparency here and the quickest measures forward to resolve this.
Complaints are based on data and not a few points and some clever thinking, which is one of the possibilities. And they would say, it's still air, this stuff drops off.
You live in the area?
Yes, I do. I'm a resident of the area, and when the first reports came out, followed by the Mercury report, I became very concerned about not only myself, but the children and young couples in my neighborhood. And so I came here hoping to find out where we were as far as regulatory cross-platform communication, if there was any kind of teeth in the legislative bodies or the city that could take more rapid action. Clearly, all of the people at the meeting tonight are fact gatherers. They will be the basis for OSHA action, which has teeth if any of the Bullseye employees decide that they've been poisoned by their job, and or for the neighborhood to take some action to stop this pollution and to have the city, county, and state deal with not only air quality, smog, and heavy particulates, but the poisoning of the air and the ground that's going on actively in our community.
Okay, well, I guess I've lived here forever, and you always thought that Oregon, Portland was like this really politically correct place to be, and then here we are with some really high levels of pollutants in the air, and we need to do something about it. And otherwise, everybody that's racing to live here is going to wonder why they came if they don't feel well. So anyway, glad to be here, glad they're doing this, and glad people are paying attention.
Well, I'd like to learn how long this has been going on, and from their website it says 2011. So I'm wondering why they waited so long to tell the public. And they don't mention lead. And I'd like to know what the long-term effects are for people that have been living here for long-term. And how the healthcare is going to be working with the people that have these symptoms. I care about my community, and I wish they'd all show up because some people don't think this is very serious, and it is. Long-term effects. See this? That's a lot of people, a lot of neighbors, and I don't understand why they didn't tell the daycare about it. I'm worried about the long-term effects of our children.
So, what do you hope to learn tonight?
Many things, most of which is, the health hazards, what's my personal exposure been, how to get that tested accurately. Another thing I'm worried about is property value. How long? I've been in the neighborhood for 31 years. I'm just a few blocks away from Bullseye Glass. So there's a little bit of everything. My daughter went to local schools here. She went to the daycare that's down the street from the facility. So just to get some more information.
I'm hoping to get some answers to better understand the regulations and how it is that supposedly Bullseye complies with their permit requirements from DEQ, yet there's these spikes that have been shown over the testing period that are beyond what would be considered safe levels, and how that works and what that means. Is that, do they really comply with their permit requirements, or was there some problem on their operation end or with their filter system or whatever, however the operation works? Or is it a problem with the regulations not being strict enough or not being written for this industry, glass production, which uses a lot of heavy metal? So I have a lot of questions about that. In particular, I got some questions answered from the health department from Multnomah County on medical testing and my next steps there.
Non, nous sommes venus ici juste pour essayer un peu de comprendre la situation pour l'environnement qui est toxique ici à Oregon Portland, pour essayer un peu d'aider nos enfants ici à Oregon, parce qu'on est réfugiés ici, nous devons comprendre ce qui se passe au juste.
Yeah, because I wanted to know more about the moss and if we can clean that up without getting contaminated by touching it, and how long this has been going on, and how is it going to affect our gardens that we have in our backyards.
Well, I'm really excited to be gathered here with my neighbors tonight. It's not an exciting reason, it's actually an awful reason, but it's incredible how we've really pulled together so quickly as a community. There are 1,000 of us organized online and 100 of us that showed up at a neighbors meeting last night to talk about our joint response to this issue. So as much as we are afraid and angry and shocked, we are also united together, and we have a list of demands for the DEQ and other government agencies that we'll be sharing here tonight. And we also have a long, long list of questions that we want answered, and we won't stop until we get them answered.
I'm just here because I live in the neighborhood, and I was curious what was going to be said and what answers would be given.
I hope to find out what's going on concerning pollution in the air and how much my garden and kids and animals are going to be affected by it. I think it's not so much the regulations themselves as much as it is that there seems to be nobody answering to them. That's what I'd like to know about.
I know. I was understanding it was from 5 to
So, yeah, we're here at Cleveland High School with parents and neighbors who are concerned about the heavy metal pollution that's just been revealed to be very high in this neighborhood. And I'm here with Neighbors for Clean Air. We're talking to people about what they can do next and sort of what is the big picture of the air pollution problem and air toxics in Portland. We're really concerned about this and concerned about impacts to children who go to this school and want to make sure that DEQ and the company are accountable to the public for their health and for the air that they have to breathe. And we also want to make sure that the momentum keeps building and that we actually address air toxics all across the state.
We live in the neighborhood, and we'd like to talk to the people who have jurisdiction for raising taxes, setting regulations, doing something to make sure that this doesn't happen again, doesn't continue to happen. We want to believe that Portland's livability is not a myth, and we're afraid that it is.
Well said. Well, I live on the boundary of two of the zones, and there's some research I've done. It's concerning, but I'm not completely alarmed. I do a lot of gardening, so I've lived in the house for 10 years, so long-term exposure, and I eat probably about, in the summer, about a third of my meals out of my garden, and in the winter, about, probably more about an eighth of my meals out of the garden. So I am worried about the heavy metals in the soil, and if they are coming up through the plants and have a long-term effect in that manner. But right now, we're really in a waiting period because we don't know what the concentrations are in the soil. There's no actual data. We have air data and we have data from moss that sequester the heavy metals. So we have some sort of a general outline of the zones of concern being right around Bullseye itself, which is of high concern, and radiating out from there. And those soil tests hopefully will be coming out soon, so we'll know whether we can keep gardening, whether we should worry about our long-term health. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but I am concerned and just waiting for that extra data.
My son went to Abernathy Elementary, so we don't really know if it's affected Abernathy or not. I think they're still doing testing there.
I live on 20th and Tibbetts, which is directly in the area that is an affected zone, and I think it's really selfish and how do I want to put this, irresponsible for them as business owners to pollute our community and the children that live in this area.
I'm Frank Peters. I just moved here from Southern California. I call myself an air pollution refugee from Los Angeles. My wife and I had issues with wood burning in Southern California, so we moved up here. And so it's a little bit ironic that here we are with air pollution issues here in Southeast Portland. I'm pleased to see the size of the crowd tonight. There's been, I think, real momentum in the community to come out and learn about what's happening, and hopefully this could become a watershed event in terms of getting more people involved to affect more feedback to our elected officials to really make changes in Portland's air quality.
Well, he pretty much said it all, but we're very supportive of the groups that are here working to get a handle on this problem. Coming from the Los Angeles and Orange County areas, we see a lot of things here in Oregon that are wonderful in terms of the focus on good health, good eating, people taking care of themselves, getting out, enjoying the outdoors. And it's really important to get more action going on some of these significant air quality issues, and we would love to see this extend more with the diesel issues that are here and with the wood smoke pollution, which is significant in Oregon and in the Portland area. Thank you.
I have some kids that are in preschool that are in an affected area, and I'm here with a question. Whether or not a company has to do some due diligence when it has to purchase and burn 6,000 pounds of highly dangerous material in a neighborhood that is considered residential. So that's what I'm going to ask.
Well, I've lived in the area about 3 years now, and this is really important to me. I have respiratory illnesses.
Okay, so I've got a daughter who's 26 and she's lived in this area her whole life. So
I'm really concerned about her and her long-term health. I mean, I've lived here all my life too, so I don't know what the long-term effects of this are. I mean, she used to work out across the street in the park, so I don't think they're giving us very many answers. It's a wait and see by everybody, so I think nobody wants to take responsibility, so I'm a little concerned about that. We're getting mixed messages about what's the best testing, at least I am, in terms of, I'm a nurse, but I've had some experience with friends that have gotten heavy metal poisoning in the past, and what was recommended to them was a 24-hour urine collection because of the way that the heavy metals are excreted in the body, that it's not consistent, so you could pick one time of the day, get a urine sample, and it wouldn't show up. And so anyway, I think the 24-hour urine, but somebody from the health department just said, well, you can just get a urine test and that would be fine. But I think that we really need to be comprehensive about this.
Well, I live in Buckman, so I'm a little ways away from this, but it's really disturbing, and I really want to at least show up and show that I'm concerned, and I want action taken. You know, I want all the levers that can be pulled to address this, whatever's going over on by Harriet Tubman School also, and do it quick.
I really hope to learn if the CDC plans on making any recommendations on health effects of employees, a look at data for past employees, and what Bullseye should be doing to help the employees be healthy in that environment. I ask that because my significant other works at Bullseye, and he's worked there for 11 years, so I do have a concern, and I know that not all Bullseye employees are tested. So I hope to learn whether there's that, whether or not the state plans to change the permit to be more specific about what emissions go into the air and how much is acceptable and how much is not.
I'm going to turn it over to our host for this evening. So we have Environmental Health Director for Multnomah County, Jay Douglas, who will be leading the rest of the presentation. Again, on behalf of PBS, thank you everyone for being here.
I'll also add my note of welcome and thanks for we have a number of state and local agencies who are represented here who turned out and mobilized very quickly to be able to provide some information. What we know at this point tonight is definitely about listening. So tonight what we have, I'll introduce our panel. To my right is Dr. Jeff Donovan, who's from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Forest Service. To Jeff's right is Sarah Armitage from the Department of Environmental Quality. To Sarah's right is Dave Monroe, also from the Department of Environmental Quality. To Dave's right is Dr. Dave Garrer from the Oregon Health Authority, and to Dave's right is Matt Hoffman from the Multnomah County Health Department. So I think we should just sort of get things rolling here, and we'll start. Actually, Sarah, you're going to start us off with kind of giving us a bit of a brief background on what we know, how we got here.
Hello, I'm Sarah Armitage. I work for Oregon DEQ in the air quality planning section, and my main focus in my work is air toxics. So I'm going to go through a brief overview of how we got to what we know right now about elevated levels of metals in southeast Portland. But before I go through our chronology of events and explain that, I just wanted to address one question up front that came up many, many times when we were talking with you all in the availability session downstairs. So one thing a lot of you would like to know more about is the timing of when DEQ first received the data from the Forest Service about the moss sampling in May 2015, the timing between that point and when we received final information about the air monitoring in that area. So I just want to go over that very quickly and explain the steps. There were many steps that took place in there. So our collaboration with the Forest Service on the moss was a scientific fact-finding process. And when we got refined data in May 2015, we took a look at that and said, that's an area where we would like to do some further monitoring. Because what's in the moss does not tell us what people are breathing in air. The moss is like a screening tool, and it tells us what the moss is picking up spatially. So we said we would like to do additional monitoring there. And we also know from other air monitors that we have in the Portland area, one long-term at North Roselawn or Jefferson High School, and other monitors we've had in North Portland, one at Swan Island and one at Sitton Elementary. We know that October has traditionally been the month in our monitoring studies where we've seen elevated levels of cadmium. So first of all, we said we want to monitor in October. That was our goal. Metals are sometimes very hard to pick up. You have to get enough of the particles or gases through a filter to see them in the lab. So we said we're going to plan for October. So it was about August when we got together with our partners at Reed College and Portland State University, and we started planning a monitoring project. And when you plan a monitoring project, there are a lot of tasks to be done. You need to locate a site. You have to make sure that there's good air circulation, you're not too close to a building, you're not too close to trees, and you need to first find a good spot. So we found a good spot in the parking lot of the Fred Meyer's corporate offices. We had to work with them to secure permission to use their property, so that's another step. We had to find equipment at EQ, additional monitor. We also had to figure out how to get power to the location, and we also had to engage a lab to do the analysis. So there are quite a few steps that it helps to know about when you set up a monitor. So then we were able to deploy the monitor. Our folks were quickly setting it up in September, getting this together, training the people who were going to service the monitor. Then they turned it on, and they took 18 samples between October and early November. Got that sampling done, took the samples off to the lab at Desert Research Institute, and under kind of a normal process, it takes a while to analyze samples, and we got the samples back, the results back on January 20th, which is when we started discussions with our partners in health and talked about how we're going to communicate this information and started interpreting what it meant. So that's the process. I just wanted to let everybody know that there were many steps in between when we first got information, refined moss information, and when we were able to get the monitoring results. So I want to talk a little bit more about DQ's monitoring, first off. In 2005, DQ had funding from EPA to do a 6-site monitoring study in Portland. This kind of kicked off our air toxics monitoring. In this area, we started getting more information. And we're monitoring all sorts of pollutants, things that are gaseous, like benzene and formaldehyde. And of course, we were picking up metals. We get other compounds called polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which are like tarry byproducts of burning wood, and diesel fuel. These are all things that we care about when we monitor. There are many, many compounds that come through in the sampling. After we did this 5-site study, we continued a permanent location, continuous location at Jefferson High School. We also have a longer-term location in LeGrand, Oregon, that gives us background on what air toxics look like in a smaller town. And then in August 2009 through October 2011, we convened a process called Portland Air Toxic Solutions, where we worked with an advisory committee to do a technical study to understand air toxics in Portland. So we had a computer model, and we put all the information we had about emissions into that computer model. So this is wood burning, cars and trucks, diesel, gasoline, our permitted facilities.